cut myself. I got like a little blood stain on my face right there, but I'm not gonna panic, man. Today wanted to get on here and talk to the trainers just about, so this will be for some of the more advanced trainers. So when I say advanced, I mean advanced physically. So, you know, I speak a lot to former athletes and people who were in the athletic or competitive environment. So if you are a former athlete, whether it be professionally, major, minor league, collegiate athlete, competing at a high level and then transitioning over into the personal training world, or whether you are a really in shape or fit personal trainer who is trying to tap into the personal training market or group exercise market, this video could be or will be for you. Today we want to talk about 3 ways to make sure that you are relating to your client at the highest level and you are creating consistent and long-term job security for yourself. Of course, there are many different factors, but today we're just going to talk about how to make sure that you are always relating to your client and putting yourself in their shoes. All right, so try to stop this little nick. I think I cut myself. I got pretty thick eyebrows, so I try to keep the unibrow out the way and all of that. But anyway, I think I cut my shit, but it's all good. So tip number 1 will be to always put yourself in a position to feel what they feel. So for all of my elite former athletes, or, you know, people who can run miles and do burpees all day and jump and run and sprint and lift all day, you have to make sure that you are tailoring and converting your chart or your scale or your RPE tolerance to your client's RPE tolerance. Remember, in a personal training setting or in a group exercise setting, these people are coming to you because they need help, and they need help progressing to a particular goal or making their way to a certain place eventually. So you can't come into it with the same mind frame that you would, you know, athletics. So as an athlete, you show up to first day of practice or first day of camp, and coaches expect you to have some type of conditioning. And then if you're not, then you're not showing good effort, or you're slacking, or, you know, you coaches start to get an attitude and all that type of shit. So not the athletic world or athletic environment. So make sure you are tailoring your mindset first to the client so that you feel what they feel. A good rule of thumb: whatever something is to you on the RPE scale, you need to know that it's going to be an automatic 2 to 3 notches above for most of your clients, okay? So unless you know specifically you've landed a former athlete that you're training, or an athlete, a current athlete that you have the, you know, luxury to train or privilege to train, if you're training most people in the gym pop, then whatever your level is for that particular movement, go ahead and bump that up 2 to 3 notches, and that's what they're gonna feel. So if you're doing something and 1 means that it's super easy and 10 means that it's super hard, if it's a 7 for you, then it's going to be a 9 or 10 for your client. So if you're doing an exercise or you're doing something and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this will be good for my client to do, if it feels like a 7 to you, if it's a little bit, you know, challenging for you, then it's going to feel like death on earth for your client, you know. So you want to be mindful of that. Sometimes the good movements and things we want to incorporate into the workout or into the training regimen may not be the best thing or the best progression or best timing for the client. And for that population, that could be discouraging. Once again, more than likely, you're not working with a highly competitive, you know, super intrinsically motivated athlete to where you can really push them to that limit, at least not right away. So if you're tapping into or you're signing up somebody new, you know, you don't want to start off the first session with giving them something that to you it's like, oh, like this ain't that bad, you know, it hurt a little bit, but you can push through, you know. So if it's a 6 or a 7 to you, then it's probably feeling like the end of the world to your client. So that's also not to say baby your client or patronize them in ways to where you're not pushing them, but always be mindful of what may feel easy to you or what may not feel like much to you may be either the tipping point for your client or make the world of difference. So with that being said, don't ignore, warming up. Don't ignore, pillar preparation and progression. Don't ignore making sure you're doing the right sets and reps for that particular client as well. All right. With that being said, point number 2 is to make sure that you are properly progressing and empowered through progression. You'll get clients, and a lot of gym pop clients feel like things happen overnight. As soon as they sign up with you for personal training, they're going to start to see results like sometime later that week, or, they have this idea of working out and getting in shape, but they're not really in tune with what it takes or what that feels like or how they should be eating, or, they try to make sense of stuff, especially with nutrition, I don't eat that much, I should be losing weight. And then you get to talking to them and figure out that they're only eating 1 meal a day. And in their mind, it makes sense because, I'm not eating that much, I should be losing weight. Then you got to explain to them that their body's holding on to, all of that food is storing in as fat because you're not speeding up your metabolism by, consuming more smaller portions throughout the day. And I mean, all of y'all know how that goes, so you have to empower them through progression, not only with things like nutrition and recovery, but also with the exercises too. And, always let them know that you may not be doing the most fun stuff in the world, or it may seem boring, but it's going to work out better for them in the long term. It's just like, Mr. Miyagi and the whole Karate Kid, concept of him, waxing on and waxing off. And, it feels like he's just cleaning up the dojo or the house all day. Come to find out, he was teaching him how to fight the whole time, So just think about stuff like that, because sometimes as trainers too, you feel like, you need to always switch it up, always be doing something new, always be doing something that's completely out of the fucking box. And that's not true. Another, famous karate reference or, kung fu type reference is Bruce Lee, fear the man that practices one kick 10,000 times versus the man who practices 10,000 kicks once. So don't be afraid to be a master at one particular thing or one particular niche, and just be fundamentally versed in everything else. So have a good base, but don't be afraid to say, hey, look, I master in strength training, or I master in, yoga, or, I'm really good at, regressive training, or I have more of like a rehab approach, or, I'm really good at getting people to be more explosive and things like that. This goes back to a few videos ago where we talked about how everybody's not going to be your ideal client, and that is okay. This way you have more of a concentrated effort. And when you tell people that, hey, that's not really what I do, it tends to build more trust, and you tend to kind of create better rapport with people. And you'd be surprised at how many references you get from that too, especially my new trainers who are afraid to feel like they're turning down clients or turning down opportunities. This comes with a lot of self-awareness and a lot of having more of the progression and journey mentality versus feeling like everything is a win and a loss. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself, and then people will invest in you the same way. All right. And the last thing is education. So after you get the ball rolling, after you've done, some self-reflection, and after you have been working with a few clients and they're properly progressing, never lose sight of the fact that you need to always master your craft. Back to the whole, the one kick 10,000 times thing. So after you become really good at what you do, always stay in somewhat of a humble place to say, hey, I need to learn, better techniques or better tactics to go into my strategy, or maybe there's something that I need to refresh on, or maybe there's just some things I just need to review, just to hold myself accountable. And always remember, when you're holding your clients accountable, it's always good to hold yourself accountable, even if it's for the little small things like, not just going into a session trying to, remember the whole workout off the dome, but, making sure that you are taking the time to write out the workout and properly progress your client on paper and showing them where they're at and their charts and all that type of stuff too. I know a lot of, veteran trainers or experienced trainers, sometimes we struggle with that, especially if we're not, natural, protocol based people. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, like I know my client, this is what we're doing today. So even if you're not doing that, or even if that kind of kills the vibe of the session, because only you can judge that, just make sure you have that logged or, reported, written down somewhere, just so you can always hold yourself accountable for what's going on with your client. So that's all we got today. Just making sure that you're always relating to your client by, number one, being able to feel what they feel, judging them on their scale, not yours. Number two is, I always do that. What was number two? I wish I could tell me what number two is. Hold on, I got notes. I'm tripping. Wait. Number two, progression. Empowered through progression. All right, so just making sure that you're not trying to, be on one extreme or the other, making sure that you're letting them know, like, hey, we're going to start here and then move here. That also helps you to make them feel good, because if there's somebody who may not need to start at step one, if you got 10 steps and they're ready for step 5 right away, by taking them through steps 1 through 4, it makes them feel really good to master that, and then they'll have more motivation to say, well, I mastered the first 4, now let me master number 5 so I can keep on going. So you kind of build in like that fun, empowering challenge with everything too. And the last one is education. So making sure that you are always fine-tuning your education and not necessarily forcing yourself to switch it up or do something new or learn something brand new all the time, but just making sure that your particular tactics and methods that go into your strategy and system always are kind of, getting a tune-up or oil change, if you will. If you think about it like a car. So you don't want to run on the same old oil all the time or the same ball raggedy tires all the time. You want to make sure them things is rotated, the oil is cleaned out, your engine is good to go. All right, so same thing when you're creating your programs for your clients and when you are holding yourself accountable to make sure that you're providing the right amount of fuel, if you will, for your sessions and for your people. All right, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Peace.